won't go that in depth into our relationship.
You can if you want to. People want to know all the details of Greg Lapin's marriage and your love life.
I know they do.
So even though she's saying, hey, you know what? Let's keep that on the DL. The listeners are starving for it.
You hear that, Mama?
Hey, and we're already live too. So we're diving right into this. That's the opening scene of this week's episode of the Greg and Greg Show. And so this is your first, no, you came up here before, but it was only in passing. You were here for a night, right? Remember you crashed at my house for one night.
Crashed at your house. I taught at your academy.
And I think it was our trip to Coeur d'Alene.
That's right.
Yeah. We did a seminar out there or something. I already forget. And then
that's right.
And then you came through for a day. But this is your first time actually kicking it out here.
Yeah. Me and Mama came out.
And being a homie out here.
We had to get the mamas together too. And I'm trying to find your rental thing.
So yeah, part of the trip was coming up, checking out the new property. And walking the new property.
Scouting the location for the range.
For Guns Gis Pacific Northwest, which I've received tons of messages of people saying, when's it going down? When's it going down? And when we walked it yesterday, what did you say?
So this is best probably reserved for 2023.
Yeah, a lot of fucking work to be done. And now he's looking at machinery to help clear the property. But I mean, here's the thing about the project, man. When you're walking it before there's any progress or before we started, it fucking seems like a daunting task.
It looks like a monumental event, and one day with an excavator in there, the proper equipment, which isn't a cheap or easy feat, but one day it looks like something. I've built ranges before on property that looked like that. And one day with a dozer or excavator, with one of those big mulchers that I showed you, taking the trees down, getting a nice, like, big square rectangle. You're like, whoa, all right, this isn't that far off.
And what do you think we need before we could officially run a course out there? Like, your range has some overhead cover, some seating, some tables for just like, putting your gear on, and that's where you do your safety brief, and that's where you have your med bag and all that. Like, what do you think are kind of musts to have on your range before it's capable of actually like running professional classes out of it?
So a decent roadway in. Let's start there. Decent roadway in, decent parking lot, right? Parking area. And then whether you do like a concrete pad and actually lay a concrete foundation down, or you do like limestone, it's either one of those are fine. I've been on ranges with both, but you do need like a dry area with some tables, even if you just get picnic tables, and preferably overhead cover. And some people actually like build a foundation and implant that into a foundation, like a pole barn.
Yeah.
And then I've also seen people do it where they literally go buy the mobile carports from Home Depot and like a limestone pad, and then the mobile carports down and tables inside. And that's fine as well. Like, honestly, they're all serves the same function. Just depends on how fancy you want it to look.
Yeah. And being in the Pacific Northwest, overhead cover is mandatory.
Overhead cover is a must. Yeah. And that's why some like the carports, the mobile carports, like you need more than one.
Yeah.
And they don't match up. And then you get rain in between the two, and it's splashing all over the place and creating puddles. And
that's already starting to sound ghetto.
Yeah.
And not acceptable for Guns and Gis quality control.
That's right. And like a piece of property like that you guys are going to hold on to for a long period of time and potentially run other events out of than just Guns and Gis. Like everything, it pays to invest in the beginning, get an actual concrete, foundation set with like a pole barn, some gutters and drainage and runoff. And then you can be out there when the weather rolls in, and you can be pretty comfortable. Have a place, even have like a whiteboard up on one of the areas so you can actually do some teaching, make it kind of a mock outdoor classroom, if you will, because that helps. I use, I don't do it for Guns and Gis program because we've kind of run a timeline. So I run the Guns and Gis firearms portion a little bit differently than I would run a normal shooting course. Most shooting courses for the first hour and a half of the day, I'm doing whiteboard presentation,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just kind of getting out on the range. So
what about as far as like the substrate? of where you're actually standing when you shoot? Because I know yours down in Louisiana is just a field, but it works and it's comfortable there. You know?
It works. I really like shooting on grass ranges. Manicured grass ranges is probably for me the nicest turf to shoot on. I've shot on ranges that have concrete poured walkways at each yard line.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons.
That seems, I don't know. I feel like for any type of moving and shooting, to have it go back and forth, I don't know. I don't see why that would be advantageous to have.
Yeah. And a lot of it, honestly, that's built for square range agencies that have to have a qualification at 25 yards.
Yeah.
15 yards, 10 yards, 7 yards, like bullshit.
Every agency.
Yeah, exactly. So like one of the ranges that me and a buddy built from scratch, kind of like in what you're doing, it's just a big grass range. And we graded the whole thing. So the whole thing slopes slightly down to one corner. And then we put a big French drain in that corner that drains out underneath the berm. And it's rad. Now, picking up brass in grass, that's the only sucky part.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out. A way around that.
I mean, you can do it. You just gotta keep up on it. So pay the local Boy Scout troop to come out, and whatever they pick up, they keep. And they can use it.
Or I mean, there's enough fucking gun nerds out there.
Yeah,
they probably want the brass for reloading.
Yeah.
And that's not a derogatory term. That's actually a term of endearment.
Yeah,
gun nerd, because I'm not a gun nerd. And there's a lot of people that understand a lot, shit a lot deeper than I do. Which, remember, I wasn't even going to tell you this story.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to tell it on the air because it's kind of like accountability.
Bro, I told you, like, I give you a pass on that one because it was like a legit website.
So let me unpack it a little bit. I bought 1,500 rounds of 168 grain boat tail 308 ammo. And I thought I was buying the entire casing bullet all put together.
You thought you were buying a whole
because it was expensive. You know what I mean? But that's when, what was it? 6 months ago when ammo was just
I think even longer than that, but
astronomically fucking priced. Yeah. And so it showed up and it was only the bullets. And I'm like, oh fuck, dude. So now I'm going to have to buy the brass, buy the primers, buy the powder, and not only put it all together, but learn how to do that.
Right.
And I figured that'd be worth it for 1,500 rounds of like high quality 308.
Yeah, and you also have a buddy who has a reloader who's savvy in reloading.
He's very, very experienced in that. And that's what he said. He goes, buy this.
Yeah.
Come to my garage for a few hours. We'll get them all pressed and I'll show you how to do it.
So you don't have to go buy the dies.
You don't
have to go buy the reamers. You don't have to go buy the Dillon press.
And I don't even know what any of that is. So
exactly.
good thing I don't have to buy that. But I went to a website called Rockstone Ammo. And they had everything. But I guess I don't know what's reasonably priced and what's not when you're looking at those kind of items because I've never reloaded myself. Right. But for at the $500, it was everything that I needed to complete those bullets. And I was like, okay, that's reasonable. The website looked professional. But I'll tell you, and I don't know if I told you this before, the reason why them saying we accept Zelle didn't raise any red flags with me. More and more companies are moving towards those type of payment platforms. But I was trying to buy ammo a couple weeks ago, and I have a lot of money in my PayPal account because all the podcast transactions are sent and received through PayPal. And so I was just going to pay with PayPal, and it said any purchases of firearm related items through your PayPal may result in us shutting down your account.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck? It's my money in there.
Yeah, but they're stupid.
They are stupid, right? Like if my money is sitting in your account and and I'm using you as the platform to complete these transactions, that's how you make your money, right?
Don't you know guns are bad?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can't use your money in your account to buy gunpowder.
I will not be a party to that, Greg.
Yeah, exactly. It was like it was gunpowder. You can't have that. And so I was like, here I am a couple weeks later. looking to buy gunpowder again, and it says preferred payment is through Zelle. And so I immediately thought back, oh yeah, last time I was looking into this, there was some fucking problem with the payment method. So this is their way of bypassing that.
Right.
And I'm a fucking idiot for not doing this. All I needed to do was research the company on Google and see if it was a scam or whatever. But it didn't raise a red flag at the time. And so I was just like, and I buy stuff with Zelle often enough that it's not a strange thing for me to do. So I just sent the money through Zelle. And then I got that fucking like automated reply.
Hello, sir, ma'am. Thank you very much for buying the best gears.
Yeah, that's right. It is the second I got that fucking broken English response, I was like, fuck. I just got scammed, dude. And so I went right into my Zelle, and it says there's a period of time when it says payment processing. Yeah. And if you catch it while it's processing, I guess you can cancel the transaction. And I was like trying to figure it out. And I'm reading on Google, how do you cancel your Zelle payment? And it's like, there's a cancel button right below. And I'm looking, it's not there. Right. And maybe it's just their mobile app isn't as user friendly or whatever. So I call my bank and I'm like, I'm just going to have them cancel it. And I'm watching it say like, processing. Paid. And then I'm on the phone with the bank and I update and it says payment received. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, this is just a real expensive mistake because there's nothing you guys can do, huh? And he goes, yeah, not only is there nothing that we can do, but we can see where the money was received to. And it was received to a prepaid debit card. And he goes, that's an indicator of a scam. You're fucked, bro. Yeah. And I'm like, well played. You got $580 from me.
And look, normally I would give you a ton of shit and never let you live it down.
But bro, yeah. What did you say?
I went to the website.
The second I told you the story, we were at dinner. The first thing you did is open your phone. You're like, I got to get a look at this.
That's right. And the website all looked legit.
This is my business partner. If he's getting had on bullshit, we might have to reevaluate our relationship.
And then the only thing that threw the red flag for me was I put one thing in my cart for like $32, right? And it said, all orders must be $200 or more to be able to be placed. And why do I have to buy at least $200?
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to make money on a $30 transaction?
I just need a thing of black powder. And why can't I just buy black powder from you?
Yeah.
So I was like, but you didn't have that issue because you put over, you put
$500 worth of stuff
in your cart right away. So you wouldn't have even seen that message to throw that flag.
Nope.
So, yeah.
So good on them. Some fucking, the number when you did the reverse lookup came out of Colorado, and then the business address is in Colorado, but everybody knows that it's actually out of fucking Africa somewhere.
Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly. And so old Greg would have been like, that's it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to fucking kill these guys. But new Greg's like, there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it.
You got me.
And you got me.
That's right.
And you got me because I didn't. Here's the thing. I can't be too mad about it because you got me because I didn't do the
due diligence.
Due diligence.
But really, there was nothing for you to really do due diligence on. Like, you didn't have to read a review like, how is this product? Right? You're buying like bare bone stuff. You're not researching like, how good are these cartridges that I'm buying? It's a brass cartridge.
It was a Winchester brass.
Right, exactly.
And it was those, I forget the primers, but like all of them were well-respected products.
Yeah, you're not doing checking reviews.
But it's a good lesson. And everybody take it from me. If you have to pay with Zelle, that in itself, it's worth a 10-minute review of who these guys are, what this company is about. Because fucking scams are fucking coming more and more often everywhere. Oh, yeah. That's why I said I felt like I got catfished. But I didn't fall in love with some random fucking human. I fell in love with reasonable prices,
ammo,
and accessible powder. But here's another thing, because when I started reading the reviews, people are like, this kind of powder is really hard to find right now. And so the fact that they have it available and they don't have a limit on how many you can buy, that in itself lets you know they're full of shit.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. That's not my fucking world.
Right.
You know, so be it, dude. That's how the fucking world goes. You can't win them all.
Bro, they black belt moved you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know.
And we were drinking Striker coffee.
Which is rad, by the way.
And you switched over to water.
I had like 7 cups of coffee this morning.
I was just going to say, I think I'm on like number 10, dude.
Dude, I had a lot of coffee.
But yeah, like all coffee is not created equal. Mm-mm. And the owners of that company, well, Paul DeGelder is one of them.
Yeah.
And he's been on the show.
He's one of the owners.
He's one of the owners.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then the other 2 owners, it's 3 guys that own the company. The other 2 still live in Australia. And Paul's from Australia. So that's like how they all connected. But they're like jiu-jitsu guys and gun guys. They're just.
Do you know where in Australia they're from?
I don't off the top of my head.
Striker guys, where in Oz are you from? And we got to talk. Like all of us got to talk.
Yeah, we want to do some stuff with Striker Coffee because, again, not all coffee is created equal, and this fucking coffee is delicious.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even like pumping it to you. I just made a pot of coffee. You're like, bro, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's rad.
You know, and so. Yeah, they don't know it yet, but Striker and us are gonna fucking do some shit together. And
I love Australia and love Aussies. I worked with a bunch of them. Spent a little bit of time over there with their federal version of HRT. Mm-hmm. The federal Australian AFP, Australian Federal Police, and they have, I think it's called SRT, Special Response Team, something like that. But it's their version of the FBI. And specifically, that team is their version of HRT, Hostage Rescue Team. So they're a national asset counterterrorism hostage rescue unit, like high-speed dudes.
You worked with them in Australia or overseas?
In Australia. Well, I worked with a few of the guys that came out of that unit overseas, and I went over to Australia with a couple of them to do some stuff with those guys specifically. And rad dudes, like talk about cut from the same cloth. And dude, high speed guys.
Where at in Australia were you?
So they're based out of Canberra.
Okay.
And it looks like it's spelled Canberra.
Canberra.
But they call it Canberra.
Uh-huh.
And
I've been there.
Yeah. Oh, you've been there?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Hey. That was our honeymoon.
Oh, nice. Heck
so
yeah.
I think Canberra is close to, and I might be fucked up, Mount Kosciuszko.
Wow, shit, I don't know. What'd you say? What'd you call me?
So take it back right now. Yeah. Kosciuszko is the biggest mountain in Australia.
We need our Jamie, like someone to look.
Yeah, I know.
Right now.
And so we were like, hey, we're going to go to Australia for a honeymoon, but let's climb the biggest mountain in Australia while we're down there. Yeah. But the funny thing about Kosciuszko, it's like the size of Mount Pilchuck. Which is right up the street from here, you know? And so coming from Western Washington, where we have the Cascades and Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Baker, like it's literally nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a couple-hour day hike.
Yeah.
But we, when we got there, dude, it base camp, which base camp of
just
this hill,
the bottom of
the
it.
bottom of the bottom of the hill, there was people like putting on full-on mountaineering gear. And they were putting on their gaiters and had like these fucking summit coats and ice axes and all this crazy shit. And we're like, what are we
getting into?
Yeah. Is the fucking summitpost.org fucking description of this not authentic? Like, what are we getting into here? And we get all the way to the top and there's like just a few inches of like kind of snow and ice. But when that's all they got, they're busting out their fucking crampons and their ice axes. And I guess that's where they do their snow and ice training.
Roger that. You're rocking up there like Nims with just a Pepsi.
Yeah, dude.
Here's my hydration for the hike.
Well, here's another prediction. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy that I'm putting out on the podcast right now.
Right.
Because Nims doesn't know this yet.
Yeah.
But we're going to be friends with him.
The dude is rad.
He's going to be friends with us. And at some point, we're going to climb a mountain with him.
And I'll tell you, I like the Nepalese people big time. Like, everyone that I've met or been around have been like rad, authentic, like hardworking, like loving people. And I told you about our guy when I lived in Abu Dhabi. it's very common out there to have a maid. Like everybody, expats or locals, have a live-in housekeeper. Everybody has a live-in like landscape person. So we didn't do that, but we had a housekeeper that came to the house a couple times a week, and then we had this guy that we met he was the one that was taking care of the property for the family before us. So he knew all the ins and outs of making grass grow in the Middle East. And so we kept him on. His name was Laxman. And
Laxman?
Laxman, yeah, Laxman. And the dude was Nepalese. He was there working, sending money home to his family. And why is Mama sending me texts? She's in the other room. Is it important? No? I've said rad like 14 times so far.
Oh, so she's calling you out while you're on the air. Like, hey, you need to fucking...
Slow down on the rads.
Slow down on the rads.
All right. Noted.
You text her back and say, I'll say rad as many fucking times as I want to.
So this rad dude was fucking rad. And so Laxman came on, and he was a Gurkha. And when he got out of the Gurkhas, came over to, I don't know how he ended up getting there, but came over to Abu Dhabi and was making money, and he was awesome. Just like the hardest working dude ever. So I'm all about the Nepalese people. And Nims seems like a fucking, not a rad dude, but an awesome dude.
Yeah, fuck. Dude, when I was in the regiment and we were deployed, like in the very, very beginning of the War on Terror, I never worked with the Gurkhas directly, but they had the reputation, and you would hear stories going through the bases and stuff like, those dudes do not fuck around.
Oh, yeah, they're hard people. And the same thing, like when I was in Iraq and stuff, same thing. I never worked hand in hand with the Gurkhas, but you'd see them, and there'd be some at the DFAC every once in a while, or and
I heard they were ruthless on the battlefield. And dude, it's just fucking... It's interesting because I just got a little glimpse and heard a little bit, but then all these years later, watching 14 Peaks, Nims was a Gurkha, and then I just read his book. So I got it goes in more detail what that's about. And I guess I just didn't even realize that the Gurkhas are a division of the British military.
Yeah. They're basically like British conscripts, I guess you call them. Yeah.
But like when you get selected to the Gurkhas, from what I understand, they actually moved to England, and that's where they're based out of.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And maybe not all of them are. Maybe they're kind of spread throughout, but I know Nims moved to England because he was in the military there. And then he's able at a later date to attend SBS selection. Yeah. And he got offered positions both with SBS and SAS.
Yeah.
And he said, I might fuck this up, so if I do, I'm sorry, Nims. When we're friends, you can correct me. But he didn't choose SAS because SBS has some different capabilities that he felt were more like his niche,
Yeah.
And so
I've worked with some of the SAS and SBS guys, and I don't know, it's weird. And maybe it was just the people I was around, but I always got along better with the SBS guys than the SAS guys. And that could have been merely coincidence by who I was around, but.
Well, and he said that too in the book. He said, because he got selected with SBS initially, and he served with them for, I want to say 6 years. The offer to switch to SAS came at a later date. So it wasn't like out of the gates, hey, what team do you want to be on? Right. He was selected, he served on that, and then at a later date, he was offered to make the switch. And he said, like, he couldn't do that, even though, like, he knew it's a great unit, the guys are good to go, but he felt like kind of loyalty to their side of the house because that's who he'd been with. Yeah. He's like, making the switch over would have felt like I was
cheating.
Yeah, exactly.
Traitor.
A traitor.
Client.
So, but yeah, bro, I'm telling you, and I know I fucking probably talked about this on other podcasts, but that's the most moving piece of television I think I've ever seen. 90 minutes of, I've watched it 10 fucking times now, which is like, probably I'm wasting my time, right? But I put it on, and I usually just put it on at night while I'm falling asleep. But bro, watching him complete this task that everybody else was laughing at him about. He said the mountaineering community was laughing at him.
Yeah, and it's the way in which he completed it. For me, that's really driving. Like we talked about this scene, I think it was at K2. When they're sitting down at base camp and the team that was already there was like, you're not going to change this mountain.
And they'd already failed.
The weather's bad. You're not going to change the mountain. I don't know why you can be all positive. You're not changing the mountain. He's like, I'm not trying to change the mountain. Tonight we're going to party. We're going to have fun. And tomorrow we're climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
Like that's it. I'm not trying to change shit.
And he even said, I'm going to climb the mountain and I'm going to see for myself, you know?
And that was just like his attitude. And it's like the whole, just, words have meanings, right? And positive outlooks have meanings. We were talking about this with, I think with one of your girls, the whole, I feel sorry for me, boohoo, I'm a victim mentality, that you said some of her friends and she's around it and you're like, I don't have that fucking mentality.
No. Yeah. Cause then you make that your reality.
Right.
You tell yourself a sad story. Now your story's sad.
Right.
And everybody's life is a sad story. If you want it to be, you can look at any fucking circumstance that you have to go through as a person and you can fucking change the narrative in your own brain. And dude, that's one of the most powerful things. Nims is able to take horrendous situations and he tells himself a story. And now it makes him able to comprehend this in a manner that is positive and it's based in like good,
right?
Not focusing on the negative
and reality too. It is like based in reality. It's not like some fairy tale dream. Like, no, we're gonna do our dance tonight and the weather's gonna change. It's I'm not worried about the weather. Like,
but check this out, dude. He didn't say this in the documentary, but this was in his book. On one of their climbs, they got to Camp 4, and they were going to refit at Camp 4, change out their oxygen. And their oxygen, they had pre-placed, right? So it was waiting for them and their gear was up there. When they got there, someone had stole all their oxygen. And he's like, motherfucker, dude. Like the logistics of planning this 6-month fucking trip is such a nightmare.
Right.
That having every little moving part fall into place is almost impossible. Yeah. But you've taken the time to pre-position some equipment and now it's fucking gone. Yeah. And he said, instantly just furious, right? And then he took a step back and he's like, okay, the oxygen's gone. So being mad about the oxygen being gone
doesn't change it.
Doesn't change anything. He goes, then the other thing, I'm telling myself a story right now that somebody stole my oxygen.
Right.
And he goes, and that story is making me mad and filling me with anger. And he goes, but the truth is, I don't know what happened to it. He goes, so I could tell myself another story. And he goes, so I did. And the story that I told myself was a climber got stranded. They ran out of O2 and they sent a rescue team and they said, oh, look at this. There's 3 extra oxygen tanks right here.
We're going to use this to save their life.
We're going to use this to save someone's life. And he goes, because you pre-positioned it, you saved somebody's life.
Yeah.
And he goes, was that the true story? I don't know. Was it likely to be the true story? And he even said this. He goes, was it likely to be the true story? Probably not. And so am I lying to myself? Maybe. But at the same time, now I know I can look at this situation and say, there's a possible positive outcome of what happened too.
And that's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
Like even in his documentary, like how many times was he up on the mountain rescuing and saving people where he needed more oxygen?
Bro, he ran out of oxygen on several climbs. And this is another thing that he goes in more depth through in the book. And anybody that watched the documentary that enjoyed it, read the book too, because it really just unpacks more of the details. But there's a percentage of like the 8,000 meter climbing community that is kind of poo-pooing him because he did it with oxygen, right? And Reinhold Messner was like the godfather of mountaineering. He did it all without oxygen.
Right. Over how many years?
16 years, right? And Reinhold Messner himself's like, to do it that fast, it's impossible. And he goes, and Nims did it his way. Yeah. And he planned the mission in the way that he thought would work well for him and his team. And they did it. And it's awesome. But one thing Nims said in the book, he goes, part of how I my approach to climbing is I'm there for me and my team to summit, but I'm also there to assist and rescue anybody at any time. He goes, I come from the military and we have the leave no man behind mentality. And he goes, other people on the mountain say, hey, you collapsed at 7,500 meters. See ya. Yeah. And they walk right by him. He goes, I'm not wired to do that. So knowing that there's a likelihood that I'm going to have to rescue someone, I want oxygen.
Yeah.
I want oxygen because I'm going to drag a person in a fucking litter down to Camp 4. And he goes, and then the other side of it is my team is putting all the fixed lines in. Right. You want to talk about the difference in effort between clipping into a line and using your little Jumar, whatever they're called, that just trek up the mountain versus being the people that blaze the trail and secure all the pickets and all the ice screws and stuff. He's like, it's a different thing.
Oh yeah. All these people that are poo-pooing on them probably are Western mountaineers that are having Sherpas do all this shit for them. You know, they're putting one foot in front of the other and that's it. And I'm not saying that's not a daunting task in itself.
No, of course not.
But it's a bit different.
It's a bit different, dude. And like, man, to be able to perform at that level physically, but then also have that like super powerful, positive outlook, it's very unique. And I guess the two things are probably intertwined, you know, but the interesting thing about him is he truly believed from the get-go, I'm going to do this.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's like that power, just the power of self-belief. It's fucking awesome, dude. Every fucking time I watch it, I get goosebumps and it's like, dude.
I watched it after you told me about it. I watched it. I was visiting a buddy and me and him watched it. And then a few weeks ago, Mom and I watched it one night. Kids were in bed. We were staying up late and we watched it and she felt the same way, you know?
Yeah.
And she could care less about mountaineering. It was more like the whole mental like aspect of the documentary.
No, same with Jenny. Cause she's like, when I turned it on, and it's not that she's not, or she's anti-mountaineering, but it's just not her interest. Yeah, she's never done any of that before. Yeah. And immediately 5 minutes into the show, you realize this isn't
not about mountaineering.
A story about mountaineering. It's a story about like overcoming.
Yeah.
And something you told me when you watched it the first time too, is like, you're like, fuck man, that kind of made me realize that I need to enjoy the journey more and laugh and dance.
Yeah.
And talk shit and have fun. Cause like those dudes are doing shit. They don't know if they're going to die at any moment, but the smiles and high fives, dude. And it's just like, that's the approach, dude, you know?
Yeah. And I think like, you know, we always kind of you got to look inside yourself. And I think if there's anything that I could change about myself, that's what it would be. I'm too serious.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm too serious sometimes. And I'm too focused on what's next, you know, like, enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, we've talked about this with jiu-jitsu, you know, and like the last time we were at a tournament and she gold medaled in both of her divisions and freaking murked these girls, she was happy, as she should be. And she enjoyed that. She rode that wave. Enjoy it. Whereas like, I'll get a gold. I'll win my division. I'll win the whole division. I'll be like, fuck, that last match sucked. I should have subbed that dude faster. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I do that? Like, I should enjoy it.
It's definitely a dichotomy, to use Jocko's word. Am I allowed to use his word on my podcast?
Yeah, for sure.
Because your criticalness in your performance is why you're so good at the things that you do, i.e. shooting and fighting, right? Because you're very critical of your performance. And if you feel like you could have done better here or fucking shaved off time there, whatever the task is you're completing, if there's a way, because you always tell me, this is one of your sayings, you said, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, but there's also the best way.
Yeah.
So you're not chasing like a good performance, you're chasing the best performance.
Yeah, as we all are. I mean, like us, you know,
yeah.
We are.
But you even more so, like there's a degree to which most of us are chasing perfection. I feel like that's a big attribute to who you are as a person. You don't like second place.
No.
And really because it's a battle with yourself more than anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't like second place against myself. If I know I could have done something better, that's what I want to do. But at the same time, like if I know that, why can't I just chill and have fun?
Enjoy it for what it is.
Have a shot and dance that night.
And then, hey, next time you go back to work, be like, hey, this is what I could work on.
Exactly. Instead of stew all night and not fucking sleep because, like why? So that if I could change one thing about myself, it'd be to just like kind of be less serious.
Yeah.
Have more fun. And that's one thing that is what I said to you. Like here he is doing like a massively daunting task and he could sit up all night studying weather reports and studying routes and like twiddling his thumbs and like racking his brain. But no, they're like hanging out outside, dancing, joking around, like,
smoking cigarettes, dude, taking shots of whiskey.
Yeah, so I don't know who's right. And he still killed it.
Yeah, nobody knows what the right path is. But when you see another man on a path where he is killing it and he seems to be happy and enjoying the journey at the same time, that's why it's so inspiring. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I've gotten better.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten better. Certain things in life, just like we do, like.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When you say sometimes you're too serious or you let things bother you too much, would you say if you ordered a steak at a restaurant and you were expecting it to take 20 minutes to be brought out and it took an hour and 20, would that be something that would probably put a damper on your evening?
Yeah, maybe set me into a mood where like physical violence was potential.
Bro, I'll tell you straight up, dude, because I was a little high. I ate a couple edibles, and so like the edge was gone for me.
Yeah.
And this was for people fucking wondering what we're talking about. We all went out to dinner last night, a group of friends, and it literally took probably an hour and a half to get our food after we ordered. Yeah. And I don't think I was high, so time is slow.
No, that's a legitimate time frame.
But everybody was hungry because we just rolled for an hour and the tensions were starting to raise. And I was like, I don't really fucking care. Like, it's just food, whatever. But then I saw you and Rob were like
staring off into space,
getting like, I could see how agitated you were becoming.
Yeah.
And then it made me sad because I was like, man, like Lapin's up here with his wife. We're out to dinner. Like we're with our friends. And instead of enjoying that moment, you were frustrated as fuck, dude.
I like zoned out, and Mama like recognized it right away. She's like, "You all right?" She's like, "You're hungry."
Yeah.
I like beyond being hungry. Like again, I just want people to be good at what they do. Just fucking be good. And if there's a problem in the kitchen, come tell us.
Yeah, no. And you said that you're like, if it takes an hour and a half to get our food, a reasonable waitress would come up and say, just so you know, guys, we're slammed tonight or we're understaffed or whatever. And if it looks like food orders are going to be 90 minutes, if that's cool with you, let's put these orders in. Or if that's an issue, I understand. Like just some fucking upfrontness.
That's it. I've literally like two flip sides of the coin. Like we went out to dinner one night and the food was taken forever. And I saw our waitress walk over and she was walking to our table and she saw us and she like made that face and walked back to the computer and started typing stuff in the computer. I'm like, that fucking bitch forgot to put our food in.
Yeah.
And then she came over to us and lied and blamed the kitchen. Like, fuck you. Right.
Well, I just don't understand where people get this mentality that ownership is not the right answer.
And then, on the flip side of the coin.
Because as soon as you cast blame, it makes you look worse.
Yes, 100%.
You know? If anything, even if the kitchen is behind, if she could take some of that ownership and instead of casting the blame on them and just be like, hey guys, our staff's kind of hurting today and we're trying to get your shit out as fast as we can, whatever. But nope.
I get it. I'm a fairly reasonable person, but like, I don't.
Whoa, hold on. Okay.
Mama's not shouting anything from the back. I'm a fairly reasonable person as long I demand a few things, right? I demand honesty. I demand integrity. You know, like that's what I want. And I've had waitresses, same thing. Come on, guys, I'm sorry. I screwed up. I forgot to put your order in. I just put it in. I told the kitchen, I'm trying to have them rush it. I really apologize.
Now, how can you get mad at that?
I can't. And you know what? I'll probably give you a bigger tip. And because of, hey, you owned up. Cool. Look, we're all human. We all screw up, right? Everybody screws up. Fucking own it.
Yeah.
You know, like own it. And, you know, like, you know, one of the things that I always took away from like one of my main mentors in contracting, he was a former officer with Force Recon, and like the dude just a stud. And, you know, it's like one of the first principles of leadership is keep your troops informed. Keep them informed, you know, like whether it's what they want to hear or what they don't want to hear. And I try to live my life like that.
Yeah.
And I told, you know, we've talked about this before, but I told Mama too, like after Monkey died, it's like, I'm going to be a little more like him every day.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get fucking brutal honesty from me. And man, that dude's an asshole. But like, I'm done letting people believe like they're going to just talk shit and be right.
Yeah.
Like, no, you didn't. No, you're full of shit. Like you didn't do that, bro.
Yeah, dude, Monkey was so brutally honest that even after being his friend for a decade or whatever, you know, I'd be over at his ranch with the boys and he'll be like, hey, why did you fucking do that? Are you retarded? Like, bro, what the fuck? I didn't know that I could be friends with someone as dumb as you or whatever it is, right? And it's like, bro, if almost anyone else said that to me, like especially in front of my family, like I'm gonna want to fight you, right? Yeah. But since we knew him for so long, it's like what he sees, and then the first thought that comes to his brain, he's going to say it to you.
Yeah. Right. No one ever really got mad at him for it. No. Everyone loved him.
Well, maybe that's because he's a fucking 250-pound gorilla.
Well, that doesn't hurt, but
you know, it's like there's always a pecking order, right? And it's not that we would ever come to blows and fight each other, but there's that part of your fucking monkey brain that's just like, dude, he's this big freak athlete, savage, and he's telling me I'm being a fucking idiot. Maybe I'm being a fucking idiot.
Oh, he calls it like he sees it.
Calls it like he sees it.
Like that's the thing.
Dude, we were talking about this at the academy on Wednesday with some of my guys, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it because speaking of pecking order, dude, I think, and I've thought about these things before, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I think the pecking order on the mats is what makes jiu-jitsu academies so fucking powerful.
Oh, 100%.
Because you take a room full of 30 men, like our practices are, like last night I counted, I think we were at 29, right? So you take 25 to 35 athletic human beings, majority male, you know, and you put them in a room with each other. And I don't care what task you tell them to complete. There's going to be so many like conflicts of personality. People are going to be butting heads. No, my way. No, this is my way. I think we should do this. Like, I think it's almost impossible to have that many people enjoy each other's company without some type of pecking order, right? So like a Ranger platoon, for example, the pecking order is very clearly established and it's pinned on our collars and you know who's in what position, and that's why that functions. But in a jiu-jitsu academy, it's all unwritten, but we all know where we fall. We know who can beat who. We know who's going to give me the hardest rounds, who I can smash, who can smash me.
And it's a realer pecking order than in the military.
100%.
Because
100%
you know the deal, like you may respect the rank. You have to respect the rank, but some guys don't deserve, some of the men wearing that rank don't deserve the
And
respect.
we've all seen those situations where it's like, fuck your rank, sergeant. Fuck you.
Right.
Take that off and see, take your fucking stripes off and see what happens.
Right.
And suddenly, and I've seen fucking sergeants kind of fucking like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because now they've realized, I am using this rank to have authority over this other man, and he doesn't care about it anymore.
Right.
Suddenly the rule book just got thrown out the window. So what now?
Right.
What now? You know? But that doesn't exist in jiu-jitsu because the what now is what we all know about each other. And I realize like, and this isn't like, oh, I'm better than you or you're better than me. I think what it is there's a comfort that comes along with knowing where every man to your left and right, where he stands.
Oh, absolutely.
What his capabilities are, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. If I fight him, he might beat me. If I fight that guy, I'll probably beat him. And it's just like, because we all know this about each other intimately, suddenly we don't have to posture.
Right.
We don't have to act badass. I don't have to be like try and one up you, or you tell me a cool story about something badass you did, and like, oh well, I did this is badass. Right. Like none of that stuff exists on the mats because we all know each other and we all know each other's strengths and weaknesses. In the posturing game, it's non-existent because posturing on each other, it doesn't benefit us at that point. Because if you were to posture on each other, all you're doing is telling each other a lie.
That's what I was going to say. It's a lie.
Yeah.
You know, if one, you know, one of my blue belts or white belts or whatever come up and be like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing, bro? I'll literally spike you on your head.
Yeah. But then it goes both ways too, because there's guys that can spike us on our heads.
100%.
You know?
And I've got no issue with it. We talked about this last time. It was like you, me, and Joao was, you know, together. I was like, there's a pecking order here. And I'm not at the top of the totem pole. I'm at the bottom of it. And you know what? I'm cool with that. Like there's no...
Bro, there's something about it that feels good.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you look at like a pride of lions or a wolf pack, right? It's like each individual plays a role.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just because this one's the alpha or whatever. Okay, that's also just a role that it's fulfilling to make the whole unit function as a team and work, right? Sure. So like being at the top of that food chain, I think a lot of men think that that's like the pinnacle. But for me, I think the pinnacle is making the team function.
Oh, 100%. And so, we all have strengths and weaknesses, you know.
But sometimes not being at the top is a position you're better suited in, and you serve the team, you serve the community better that way.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, and like that's, and I've noticed that in the military too. And I've told you before, like my buddy Rancher, who is one of the most tactically sound, fit, savage fucking dudes I've ever worked for. When I'm on an operation with him, I don't want to be in charge of him.
Right.
The world's out of alignment if I'm telling him what to do.
Right.
And so if he tells me, hey, go fucking take up security, this is your sector, fucking blah, 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 roger that. And it actually feels good because it's like, absolutely. This guy's telling me what he thinks I'm best suited doing, and I'm going to go do that to show him like I'm down with him.
Well, also you have trust in his background and experience that he probably knows better than we do.
Yeah.
You know, in that circumstance.
And that's actually, if anything, that actually takes some weight off my shoulders.
Oh, 100%.
And that's why I always say when people are always saying like alpha males, I'm like, I'm an alpha in a lot of ways, but sometimes I'm more comfortable being the beta. and like,
that's not being the beta though. It's like you said, the pride of lions, right?
Yeah.
They're all alphas, and every once in a while they might have little spats in between each other to vie for that lead pack alpha. But at the same time, like the pack leader and his pack, they all got to work together to take down the fucking water buffalo or whatever. And, you know, like the same thing, like, you know, look at our entire circle, you know, like rolling with Rob last night was a good example. Rob's a savage. Rob's, you know, 205 plus pounds, fucking jacked, ripped, you know, he and I rolled. I went into that roll knowing he might win this round, but it's not going to be an easy one for him. Like he's going to know he was in, and like same thing, like, you know, if you and I fought different, we talked about the merge, you know, if we didn't know each other and the merge that we talked about, right? Yeah. And you and I got out of our car and fought, like you're going to probably win that fight, but you're going to know you were in a fight. You're going to leave missing an ear or an eye or something, you know,
maybe you know?
Not. So that's what I'm saying. Like we all know, but like there's a pecking order. But at the same time, like we're cool with it because we all bring something to the table. You
know, I like that you said that because I said that exact same thing to some guys at my academy the other day because we just got a new black belt. And he's a Higa Machado black belt. He's an older gentleman. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and he's a black belt in judo.
Yeah, this is your British guy, right?
Yeah. He's very fucking good.
I wish I met him.
He's very fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like he's one of those guys, as soon as you start talking to him, you're like, man, our academy's lucky to have you, you know? But then you also are going to have your first date roll, right?
Yeah.
And I watched him murk some tough dudes. And so I was like, well, he might murk me too. But
only one way to find out.
But the only thing that I was concerned about, I wasn't concerned about beating him or losing to him. I wanted, when the timer went off and our roll was over, I wanted him to know Greg's a motherfucker. Dude.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I want him to know that me being head coach of this academy, I have fucking validity and I'm legit. And like at black belt, as you know, there's black belts that we would not consider legit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That we would say, man, that guy probably shouldn't have black belt tied around his waist. But if he's teaching a room full of blue belts and white belts,
they don't know anything.
They don't know the difference. So when another good black belt walks in, I want him to know, man, I'm fucking one of the guys in here.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to welcome you and I'm fucking stoked you're here, but this place is legit.
Yeah. We have serious jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And then that's how our roll went. Like we both, when the bell went off, we both knew the other guy's really fucking good.
Yeah.
And that's like the best case scenario for me.
Absolutely.
And neither one of us caught a submission, but just based on cut some sweeps and some grips and like transitions, it doesn't take long to know what somebody brings to the table.
Absolutely.
That's
my biggest thing is like a new black belt. I'm a baby black belt, and in the last few weeks since I've been promoted to black belt, I've had some visiting black belts come in, had a couple people that were like visiting from out of town, drop in at black belts. And now I'm a black belt too. And we roll in the same thing. It's a first date roll, but also it's my house. It's my academy.
Bro, that brings out the best version of me.
Me too.
Because it's your house, your academy, and all the eyes are on you.
Yes.
Right?
And it brings out the best version of me as well. And I know chances are these guys have been black belts longer than me. And I don't care whether I win or lose, as long as we leave that round going, that dude's a motherfucker to deal with. All right. He's a black belt. He rates that black belt around his waist.
Yeah. Well, and because, and at least for me, and I don't know if you are feeling this because you own an academy, you're a head instructor, like you're already filling a lot of billets of what a black belt kind of means. But when I got my black belt, there was a period of time when I was feeling imposter syndrome.
And I have my days.
And it's like, dude, I should not be a black belt. And I mean, I've been a black belt for 7 years now. And I feel like I'm definitely a black belt now. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that was a long process before I was comfortable being in that position. But it goes back to what I always say. A promotion should come with a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of discomfort. Because for all the people that are like, yeah, I'm ready, I think that's a wrong approach.
100%, especially at black belt.
Yeah.
Because it's a little different. Like you get your blue belt. I'm ready for my blue belt. All right. People spend 2 to maybe 4 years at blue belt.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the span. So at black belt, like I'm a 2-month black belt now. And there's been black belts from 7 years, 10 years, 15-year black belts. Like I'm in Masters 3 age category in IBJJF. And I'll be fighting 3rd, 4th, and 5th degree black belts.
Yeah.
Guys have been black belts for over a decade.
Well, and bro, I was just going to say, this is how you know your black belts are legit, right? Because, I mean, I've talked about my competition experience a lot on here. I've been murked plenty of times, but I've also won IBJJF tournaments, black belt divisions. Right. So I know I might not be fucking the best, but I'm good.
Yeah.
And we figured this out yesterday. The day I got my black belt, you were a blue belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about that, dude.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, we've only rolled a couple times, but it's very, very clear that you're a fucking problem and you're hard to deal with, And so, like I always say, the lower belts, they're playing catch up.
Yeah.
And that gap is getting closed every day. So between you being a blue belt, me being a black belt, and we're both being black belts, man, you've completely closed that gap.
Yeah, it's closer. It's closer. And then I go back to like, and I told you this story when I received my blue belt, like
Greggy, you don't know shit.
Yeah, poor Greg, you don't know shit, bro. Like, but like guys like you, Joao, my professor, Jeremy Humphreys, Eric, Professor Eric Raposo, like a lot of these black belts that I really respect that are about as legit fucking black belts as you can get, when they say I'm ready, they say, hey, you're a black belt, bro. Who am I to say I'm not?
Yeah.
I don't know shit, right? Like, for the listeners out there, like when I was promoted to blue belt under my professor at the time, Thiago Bravo, again, like every promotion I've received, I was like, man, I'm not a blue belt, bro. I'm not ready for this. And this is like a 3rd degree black belt. And he literally said, poor Greggy, you don't know shit, bro. I know shit. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a blue belt,
You the belt, I tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Like again, same thing. Like, if I'm talking to someone about shooting and they tell me, no, that's not right. What do I say? Like literally I tell my kids almost every day, who knows more?
Yeah.
Who knows more? You do, Dad. I'm like, so shut up. Don't argue with me.
And here's the funny thing. When you look at your professor and you say, man, I'm not ready for this. That statement in its foundation is kind of rooted in humility.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you don't feel like you have earned something. And typically that is a good, like emotional place to hold yourself.
Yeah.
But then the other side of that is if you tell him this isn't valid when he just said this is valid.
Right.
That's exactly what you're telling a black belt. Yeah. You don't know shit.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like arguing with a black belt about technique when you're a white belt.
Yeah.
Like, all the time. Well, what about this? Stop. Like who's the black belt?
Bro, I literally had, I think I busted his balls a couple times. I might've done it yesterday, but I literally had, hey, we're working triangles. Okay. You fucking push, pull this arm, fucking throw your hips high and get the trap. Like talk him through whatever the technique was. Do we have any questions? This new guy goes, from that position, if someone were to pull a gun, how would you deal with it?
You're like, get out.
And I like this kid. No, he's cool, man. And he's tough, but he's brand new. Yeah. And he just, he doesn't understand what we're doing. Yeah. And so that's why I said, listen, bro, we could play 10 million what ifs. Yeah. And there are plenty of situations out there where this technique
ideal
could get you fucking killed. If a dude has a fucking knife and I'm trying to fucking throw a triangle choke on him, like, okay, we're talking about a different thing. So don't get caught up on different things. Yeah. But, it's a perfect segue because like our Guns Gis program, I honestly feel like anytime you combined weapons with tactics, or I should say weapons with grappling and fighting, right? Combatives. Because I've done training where it's like with shock knives, right? And it's like, all right, try and control this suspect with a knife. And you realize, oh, my jiu-jitsu just got me fucking sliced and diced, right? But I don't think that it's very productive to focus on that stuff when you don't even know what your base is.
No, I agree.
You don't understand posture yet. You don't know your balance. You don't know how to hold someone in side control, or like the fundamentals that you should know. I would say as like a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. If someone has a knife in their hand or they don't, like it's not an important foundational element to develop your grappling.
No, 100%. And, I think we've talked about this in the past, and I've talked about it on other things. I don't really believe in like combative training classes. Because like you said, it doesn't really bring much to the table. If you have no concept of footwork, posture, head position, hand fighting, very, very basic day one fundamental stuff, in a 2-day combatives course, all you're going to learn is a false sense of security and shit that's not going to work for you ever.
Yeah.
Now translate that into a training program, right? So now you're going to jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, 4 times a week. You're developing that base, and that combatives course comes to town and you want to take it. Cool. I'm cool with that because you have a fundamental understanding of what grappling is. of what wrestling is, of what striking is, depending on your training. And now you can move those concepts of, all right, now we're introducing or implementing weapons into it. And I think that's what's one of the big things that sets our Guns Gis program apart from some of the other programs that are out there that I guess are similar, where they're doing a shooting portion and a combatives portion. Is that Joe, the plumber off the street, is not ready for a combatives class.
No.
And in my experience, I've seen a lot of injuries occur from combatives classes because they don't know how to be a good training partner. They don't know how to grapple, for one. And now they're implementing training knives or training guns, getting fingers stuck in trigger guards, like getting injured.
Well, and like, I've seen some like snippets on Instagram of some of those courses where they're like out on a dirt range and two guys are fighting over a pistol. Right. So that's kind of like a fight for life scenario.
Yeah.
Hey, how would you perform here? Go. And I would say the only value you're going to get out of that is maybe to identify some shortcomings, but that's not going to build you up at all.
It doesn't build a skill set.
That's what I'm saying. No, it doesn't. You're not developing yourself.
Right.
You're basically just saying, hey, how would you react in a fight with no training?
Right.
Okay, go. Let's see.
Right.
Which, okay, I'm not saying there's not a time for that, but if you have someone for a 2-day course, I don't think you're spending your time in a valuable manner. And like, we even discussed this, and I talked to Ron about this the other day because he was saying he attended a course where they were putting like live training and combining it with the range. So it's like you're trying to draw your gun and then some dude tackles you.
Yeah.
And he goes, and he really just kind of beat the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like, oh, hey, we're going to show you a technique to like get your gun side down and then work to a position where maybe you can draw and engage. It wasn't based on that. Right. It was like, look, you can do nothing. And it's like, okay. And he goes, one thing that I loved about your Guns Gis is that the live training was all optional.
Oh yeah, like sparring at
the end of our jiu-jitsu instruction was optional, because you take someone, you give them 2 to 3 hours of instruction. Some of the guys are hungry to try and let's see how this works live. And I would say, I mean, I don't even know what the percentage is, but maybe half the class gets live rolls.
It's smaller than that.
You think it's smaller than that?
I think it's just a few of the young go-getters, and a lot of the older guys are like,
time to go shower up, and we'll see you at dinner, right? But and I'm always a proponent of live rolls. I tell my school all the time, that's where you make your money. But that's also people that have already invested in grappling and joined a team, and they're showing up consistently. Right. Once you're doing that, I do think sparring is where you make your money. But we always say, like, this program is an introduction and building the foundations of being a grappler. And I just don't think, I think live rolls are great. If you want to experience it, cool. But I don't think having it a mandatory part of the curriculum is going to be that beneficial.
No, agreed. And, for me, again, that's why, and it's been brought up and people have asked, we don't blend the shooting and the grappling portion in this at all. Mm-hmm. You're coming out to learn how to carry, handle, and employ a pistol in a defensive situation, or I like offensive situation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like basically a concealed carry sort of, combative pistol training. And then we are introducing you to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the jiu-jitsu, the way of life, the culture, the training aspect. And they've got to be separate before they can be joined together. You have to become, you have to be good at them individually before you can combine them.
Yep.
So I don't believe in a lot of the combatives training courses you go take. I think for untrained people, it's a waste of time and money. It's a poor investment.
Yeah.
I think investing in a training program, learning how to grapple, learning how to shoot. My big thing, if people come to me and say, hey, I want you to make me the best shooter that you can make me, we're going to go on a square range and we're going to shoot static bullseyes for a week first before we do anything else, we're going to shoot bullseye targets for a week. And it's going to be super boring. And it's not going to be sexy. And no one's going to be dirty. And no one's going to be doing rolls and laying on the ground and all that shit.
Yeah.
You will have such an intimate familiarity with your sights and your trigger that fucking hitting your target is never going to have to cross your mind again. So now when I put you in the situations where you're running and reloading and fixing malfunctions and laying on your back or laying on your side or shooting under a car, you never think about sights and trigger. You're just going to do it.
Yeah, because you build that foundation.
That's right. And that's where the money meets the road is, can you hit your target? Like, you can shoot at your target all day long.
Yeah.
But if you're not hitting your target, you're not stopping their aggressive action. But people won't do it. I would never make any money. Like, no one would come out and want to shoot bullseyes with me for a week.
Yeah. Like, dude, I'm real sick of this Greg Lapin guy.
You know, but that's, you want me to make you into the best shooter that I can. Okay, cool. That's what we're doing.
So let me ask you this, because and you may have listened to this or not, I don't know. I had a Q&A podcast maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And you and I have talked about this, and I feel like I articulated it very well, but I'd like people, obviously he's a listener of the show, hear it from the horse's mouth. He said, in your Guns Gis program, I noticed most guys are training with gun belts. He goes, but in real life, most of us are going to be carrying inside the waistband. He goes, correct. So why are you guys proponents of training with a gun belt, even though if I'm walking into Walmart, I won't have a gun belt on?
An excellent question. Excellent question. We get that a lot. So I'm a big proponent of shooting a full-size gun for one, and just shooting from a gun belt during training for about 80% of your training time. All right. That allows you to build the repetitions, the reps. You don't have to worry about clearing your cover garment all the time. You don't have to worry about reholstering a hot gun and, against your skin, IWB. You're carrying a full size gun, so your magazine capacity is higher. So you're not spending half the day jamming mags and loading mags. That gives you repetition. Weapon manipulation, pistol manipulation, and marksmanship is pistol manipulation and marksmanship, regardless of the size of the gun, right? Then that 20%. So when I go to the range and I shoot the majority. Like, if I go shoot for an hour, basically 45, 50 minutes is me shooting my full size Glock 17 out of my gun belt. Then I go up, I put that away. I get my Glock 48, IWB. I shoot 2 or 3 magazines out of it, and I'm done. Right now, when it comes to getting reps of clearing a concealment garment, I will dry fire that. That's my dry fire. So when I dry fire at home and stuff, it's not with my gun belt, with my big gun. It's my concealed gun out of my garment, clearing my garment. But if you're shooting on the range all day in a course with a small gun, IWB concealed, it's going to be a pretty miserable day for you. All the other people that are on the range wearing gun belts and full-size guns are going to be getting a lot more reps than you are, because you're going to be jamming mags like crazy. And it kind of reaches, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Using a bad pun, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because now you're spending more time jamming mags. They're actually putting more rounds down range, getting more reps. And the manipulation from this to this is not much different. Yeah. You just have to learn how to work with that t-shirt or your cover garment, which is very easily solved by dry firing that.
So regardless if it's full size or a compact or subcompact, you're saying the fundamentals of marksmanship are identical.
And
how many fundamentals of marksmanship are there?
Carry the 2. I use 7. I use 7 fundamentals of marksmanship. Different places.
Of course,
they have their own little thing, but 7 fundamentals of marksmanship.
Here's the other thing too, is like, because I've been doing that since you told me that, is that I will, if I'm going out, I have a 19X. So it's not a full size, but that's
I consider that more or less a full
size. Because it's a full size grip, and I'll put most of the rounds downrange with that, and then a round or 2 through my 43. Yep. Shooting the 43 is not fun.
No, they suck.
It doesn't feel good.
Right.
It's just like, I don't know, nothing about that gun feels fun after going from the 19X to the 43.
Yeah. You're not going to have as enjoyable or as productive of a day shooting a subcompact gun. The other part of it for me, as the lead instructor out there, as running a program with 30 people that we've never ever met before, in order to run IWB concealed at Guns Gis, you have to get permission from me.
Yeah.
So you have to send us an email and you have to show me certificates of training that you've attended other courses so I can kind of vet you. And then even then, I'm looking at everyone with IWB holsters on day one, scrutinizing them like crazy. And if I'm not comfortable with them,
you're going back to a gun belt.
You're going back to a gun belt. So for me, it's a big safety thing too.
Yeah.
That people are not reholstering, because not even talking finger on the trigger, but if they don't know how to re-clear their cover garment and that gets in the trigger guard.
Yeah.
You know, like, so for me, it's a safety thing of managing 30 people on a range.
Yeah.
Safely.
Well, and that's another thing that I was just talking to someone that attended our course. He goes, the safety measures that are being implemented at Guns Gis are night and day different from what he's seen in other courses. And he's like, literally the safety brief for, and this is I'm not going to say anybody's names because I look up to some of these guys and I think they put out a good product. But if you don't have the right person giving the safety brief, they told them, hey, we're all grown adults here. Don't do anything stupid. That's your safety brief. And it's like, not only does that not reiterate any of the safety rules or kind of set the tone for the day, but it's almost the opposite, because that almost tells the students like,
you guys are dumb. Don't do anything dumb.
Yeah. I don't want to waste, I'm not interested in wasting my time, you know?
But based on your safety too, which for me is the most important thing.
Yeah, of course it is, dude.
So yeah, I mean, obviously you know me, I have an extremely, I have like basically like a no excuse standard on weapon safety, on trigger finger discipline and muzzle awareness. Like for me, I get it. In real operational environments, do sometimes guys get muzzle swept? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
In a massive kinetic event, you and I may muzzle sweep each other.
Yeah.
But in training, it should never, ever, ever happen.
Yeah. Well, in like when I was with the U.S. Marshals, we did a block of training on securing the cockpit, right? Because we are authorized to fly armed. And that's one thing, I really like this instructor. I forget his name, but he goes, that's one thing he says. He goes, if you think you're going to operate inside of an aircraft and not flag anyone,
it's a dream world.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You know, he goes, are you going to be at Seoul and then up and then down and then up and then down as you are trying to like navigate through the aircraft? He goes, so just remember, there's a reason we have multiple layers of firearm safety. Right. And he's like, and if you find yourself in an environment where you inevitably have to flag someone, well, now if your finger's off the trigger, that's a redundant measure to ensure that you're not going to injure somebody that shouldn't be injured.
Right.
You know, dude, another interesting thing, and maybe it's changed, but what we were taught as U.S. Marshals is defend the cockpit, period. And he goes, there could be a guy with a box cutter starting at row 31 and slitting the throat of every single person on the aircraft. He goes, you do not fight to the back of the plane and address that person. Your job is to defend the cockpit.
And I guess after September 11th.
Yeah, right. But I was like, man, you know how that would go. Yeah, sorry, homie. Yeah. You know, like it is what it is. I mean, I don't really feel this anymore just because I feel like September 11th is so removed or so now far back in what fucking led us to all these deployments and all these wars and all the shit that our entire youth was dedicated to on a foundational level started from September 11th, right? Yeah. So I remember every time I flew for a while, I remember just thinking like, please be the next aircraft. Because this wasn't 20 years old. This was 20 days old or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, dude, when's the next one? You know? And I remember my whole Ranger platoon flew, we went somewhere on a training exercise, but they flew us on commercial. Yeah. And we're just like, come on, please. So stupid, man. You know?
Bro, mama can tell you a story. We were flying internationally, and I'm pretty sure we had the whole family. So it was us and the 2 kids, and the person sitting right in front of us was exhibiting every sign of like something was up. Yeah. And I recognized it, and that dude got followed around for, I can't remember how long the flight was, 12, 14 hours, something like that. You got followed around, and you get metal silverware on these real fancy international flights.
Are you ready to kill someone?
I think we were it was Emirates or Etihad Airlines. And that dude got followed around the airplane with a metal fork in my hand. The whole fucking flight. He stood up. If he stood up in his seat, I stood up. If he walked to the bathroom, I followed him to the bathroom. Like, and that motherfucker, I think it made him more scared. Yeah. But like, dude, I was in my head, and I told her, I was like, this motherfucker's up to something. And like,
bro, it's your intuition. It's the gift of fear. I've talked about it on the show a lot. Yeah. That if something inside of your monkey brain is saying, man, something's up, that's because something's up.
That's right. And so one of my team leaders told me this once when I was doing like, working for Triple Canopy and stuff overseas. The bad part about our job is we never actually know whether our job is working, whether we're actually doing. And what he meant by that was like, so we don't get attacked. We don't get attacked for a year. Yep. Is that by happenstance? Like, fuck, man. Or is it we didn't get attacked because we're doing such a good job with our planning and our route planning and our
and being a hard target.
And being a hard target. Yeah. You know, it's like, in my mind, like, was that guy up to something? Did he have something planned and not do it because he's like, this fucking crazy gorilla is following me everywhere. Yeah. And is like ready to rip my head off.
No, man. I mean,
something? I don't know.
When I was a young Ranger in Afghanistan, we went a whole deployment, and we were in the fucking Indian country. And
can you say that?
I don't know. We were in crisscross applesauce country. But fucking like my PL, that was his whole mission. And he's like, I think he's approaching a general now. Like, he's still in, and he's a fucking stud. Yeah. And he was an E6 before he became an officer. So he had the respect of the troops, right? Yeah. This was an old squad leader. Now he's a platoon leader. But he fucking worked us into the dirt. And I remember being a young Ranger, we were like frustrated because it's like, dude, no days off. We're patrolling every single day. You're walking these fucking ridge lines until you feel like you're going to die. And it's like, you get back to the safe house, you refit, you fill your fucking water, get some more chow. And then, hey, this is where you're patrolling to today. And it was nonstop. And I remember he told us that. He goes, guys, the reason that we haven't been attacked yet is because everybody knows what's up with us. We're proactive. We're visible. We're out. We're about. We know the cities. We're interacting with all the locals. They know that we know what's up. And bro, at the time, it's like, okay, cool. That's a motivating thing to hear from your PL. And like, I'm inclined to believe that that's the truth. But bro, we turned that safe house over to the 82nd.
What happened like week 1?
Overran. The whole fucking compound. Overran.
And don't think that was by accident.
That's what I'm saying. No, it was like, all right, there's new guys in town. Let's get a feel for them.
Those motherfuckers know, man.
Oh, look at this. Yeah. I see some chinks in their armor. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. And so that validated everything that he was saying. And then it made you realize, like, man, you might want to be lazy and take a day off. And like, dude, I just want to sit in my rack today and play Tetris. Nope, you're going to go walk 10 miles through the Hindu Kush at 11,000 feet. Yeah. You know, and like, that sounds cool because like you read Vietnam books growing up and stuff and like out on patrol. But at the same time, when you're the guy out there doing it, it's a kick to the fucking dick sometimes.
Trust me, it does not sound cool to me.
Yeah, you know? And I remember, and dude, like, we would set in patrol bases and sleeping on rocks, sleeping in piles of goat shit and stuff. And it's just like, Hey, this is your life right now.
Life of a young ranger.
And speaking of real life, if anyone hears my children screaming upstairs, that's because I do real life. And right now we're just recording in my living room downstairs, and they're being loud and obnoxious. And if I hear them on the final product that's going to get put out in a couple of weeks, they're fucking grounded. One thing I wanted to touch on when you mentioned triple canopy, I think this is a good thing to bring up, is your team leader, when you were with TC, Tony Cowden, is now running for Congress.
Yes.
And I like to use my platform to shine a spotlight on people that I think deserve to have the attention put on them. I've had Joe Kent on the podcast, who's also running for Congress, who's a friend of mine, who was in Ranger Regiment with me. But Tony called me, I mean, what's it been, maybe a month ago now?
Yeah.
And we talked for about an hour, and he said, like, all the stuff that we've talked about. He's like, man, I don't want to be doing this. Like, I enjoy running he enjoys running his tactical shooting schools.
He's got a great life.
He has a great life. He has a good woman. And he's like, I'm at a phase in life where like life is good.
Yeah.
But if men like us aren't willing to step up and get involved in politics, we've already seen the men that will get involved.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of sleazy, slimy dirtbags.
Yep.
And so
self-serving.
Yeah. And so he's another one of the good guys that's fucking decided, you know what? And he even told me, he goes, and bro, I'm giving myself a window of time that I'm going to dedicate to politics. And no matter how good or how bad it's going, I'm out.
Yeah.
Because he believes that that's how politics should be.
Absolutely.
That's how people's approach should be to politics.
Go in, make your difference.
Do your time.
Right? Do your time. Make your difference. Make your and set your positive, implementations, and then go back to the farm.
Yeah.
And Tony. So Tony and I, he was my team leader. We were deployed like 2005, 2006 together. And then I've known Tony, obviously we stayed in touch and have reconnected elsewhere and through other programs. But,
and I'll throw this out here real quick. He said next time we do the Greg and Greg show down in Louisiana, he wants to fly out and join us.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So that'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Tony's a savage, and Tony like has reached the pinnacle. And just like, kind of like what we try to do, he's always striving to be better. And, whether it was, his time in SF, whether it was his time contracting, he's done like these crazy, crazy long endurance off-road running races, like that have almost killed him, and now he's not retired. Actually, I think he's still in the reserve SF. If I remember correctly, but now he's like, this is my time. And he and I talked, and he kind of did something similar where a few years back, some people approached him to run for sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've heard that story before.
Yeah. Like the same thing. And I said, no, like I thought about it. There's definitely, there's that part of me, like I would be good at the job and I think I would implement positive changes, but my life is good right now. I'm being selfish right now.
Yeah, but I mean, again, if you run for office to your own detriment, is that a smart thing to do too? I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is.
I don't know either.
But both of us are and you're a couple years ahead of me, even though my Jiu-Jitsu Academy has been open longer. But you were able to grow yours faster, implement some sound business practices, and your academy is doing very well right now.
Yeah.
But it's not doing so well that you could walk away from it. If you walked away from Vita right now and tried to have somebody else take the reins while you were focused on being sheriff, it's going to implode.
Yeah, I mean, the academy is the academy is us.
Yeah, and that's how you feed your family. And that's, I think, as an entrepreneur and somebody that wants to create something, you have to give it all of your life energy.
Oh, for sure. And that's kind of where I went.
You can't walk away from that to pursue a political career unless you're willing to understand, like, I'm going to lose this.
Yeah. And that's
you can't lose that right now.
Yeah, no. Mom and I talked about it, and I told some people, and I would be like, everything about my life would get worse.
Exactly.
Everything.
Yeah.
My daily activities, my physical fitness, my business, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids, like you name it, everything about my life would get worse because of this.
And then not only all that, but you're going to have a fuckload of stress placed on you every day.
Yeah, horrible. And like Tony said, like, I know what I'm getting into. He's like, I've got a good life. I don't want to do this because of my career or monetary reasons. It's like, I feel like I'm obligated to do this because this is my next role of service.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, Tony Cowden, running for Congress in North Carolina. Man, he's got a website. Go check him out. Go donate. Let's support the good guys like Joe Kent and Tony Cowden, Eli Crane, you know, some of the other special operations veterans that are running for office. And that's the only way we're going to make changes.
There's another dude, because the veterans community is putting out some fucking like very qualified people.
Yes.
But there's also guys, there's a guy named Robbie Starbuck that I follow.
Okay.
And he was an actor. Right? Like he is so far the opposite of our paths that we walked, but he's come to the same conclusions based on the last 24 months of bullshit. So he said, I'm putting my acting career on hold and I'm fucking running for Congress. And it's all the exact same shit that like Joe Kent, Tony Cowden, or that we would say. And it's kind of interesting. It's like, oh, people from all these different walks of life are starting to arrive at the same conclusion. And so I think the next couple of years, shit is going to turn around. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, nope, we're fucking doomed. This is all part of the plan. Yeah. I've even seen people say like, if different people get voted in, like that's just a mirage of hope and it's all part of the plan. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
There is no plan.
There is no plan. People are starting to wake up and people are starting to fucking push back. But I'll tell you this though, because we just saw the prime minister of fucking Britain stand up on the podium and go, did you see this the other day?
I didn't see it, but I know what
he's like, we are done with mask mandates and we are done. And like, you know, taking a step back from all the fucking tyrannical COVID stuff. And then everybody started cheering. Right. And it's like, what? You don't get a cheer because you gave me back something that you didn't have. You didn't have the right to take. You didn't have the right to take in the first place. And I was talking to Tyler about it after practice, and it would be like a guy abducting your daughter. Right? Depriving you of something that is yours. And then he brings her back one day and I'm supposed to show that person gratitude. Yeah. Hey, thank you for bringing my daughter back. No, I'm going to fucking cut your head off with my new knife from Montana Knife Company. Like, hey, I'm grateful she's home. Now watch this. Yeah. You know, fuck that guy. Yeah. Like, and it's bizarre though that people are so quick to like, it's just the sheepest mentality. Yeah. Like,
oh, thank you, man.
Thank you. No, fuck you.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us to have the fuck you mentality because I haven't been doing any of your bullshit you've been saying anyways.
Anyway, and try to stop me.
Yeah. You know? Try and fucking stop me, dude.
Yeah. And we've had this talk before on podcasts, you know, like, you know, you and I kind of felt the same way. And like, I think we both had very, very serious conversations with our wives. Like, this is where I draw the line. And if law enforcement of some sort comes to my academy and tries to take me off to jail or close me down, this is what I'm willing to fight to the death with.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I had nightmares, but like it kept me up at some nights. Like,
bro,
thinking like it's going to be one fire marshal.
Yeah.
That's going to come. And fire marshals in Louisiana, they're actually part of the law enforcement branch. So they wear like a police uniform and a gun belt and everything, but they're like pogues.
Yeah.
You know? Is one person, they're going to come in there with their chest puffed out, trying to act tough. And that's going to be the wrong way to come at me. I'm going to tell them to get the fuck out of my gym. And they're going to try to take me to custody. And they're going to end up on the ground handcuffed in their own handcuffs.
Yeah.
And then the fucking SWAT team's rolling out, you know.
And where does this go?
Where does this go? Nowhere good.
Wherever they want to take it is the answer.
Nowhere good.
But also the government is never going to be able to admit fault. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
Like if you fucking flex scuff the fire marshal, They're not going to be like, hey, you know what? We probably shouldn't have been in there. We'll walk away.
No.
Nope.
No, they're coming to burn me down.
They're coming to burn you down.
They're coming to burn me down.
And now what? You know? No, I've had that same conversation with Jenny. And I've talked about it. It's like there are days where I'm just going to open my gym. Whereas like, you remember when you're deployed and you're on an op and it's just something doesn't feel right. And you're like, man, I think today's the day.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get got today. I started having those feelings on certain days.
Going down the street to
going to my academy. And it's like, dude, what the fuck is going on? I'm literally feeling that same combat fucking feeling that my impending doom is fucking going to take place soon here in my fucking backyard.
Yeah.
You know?
Fortunately, in Louisiana, we're kind of done with all that shit. So,
dude, I don't know when we're going to be done with it. It's fucking every time they start to fucking kind of lighten the fucking reins a little bit, they yank them back.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where I don't know if it's ever going to go back to normal. You know, we'll fucking see.
Right.
Couple more things before we fucking wrap this up because we're already an hour and a half. That was the goal for today, right? Because your wife's here, my wife's here. They want to fucking, it's your last day of vacation. So instead of us just gazing into each other's eyes for 3 hours,
let's go do shit.
Let's go do some shit. But you were saying before we started recording that the cadet program for your sheriff's office, mandatory ice baths now.
So this is rad. So very, very good friend. And I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to get the program ripped out or like any, but so a very good friend of mine, he is one of the guys that runs the training program for the sheriff's office. And we run an in-house academy. And basically he went through and got medical authorization showing that it's like therapeutic and helps prevent injuries to take ice baths after heavy exercise. And we were having, a lot of cadets come to the academy not very physically fit, and then they're pulling muscles because, look, we tell them to go do like a however long road march with cadre, and then they got to come back, they got to shower, they got to change into their uniforms, and then sit in a classroom for however many hours, and then they get smoked. They're not paying attention, they go get PT'd.
Yeah.
Right? And they're pulling muscles. So we all know what ice baths really do.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a
owns the
mental toughness
drill,
fortitude. Like,
well, that's a win-win.
It's win-win.
Good for your body and good for your mind.
Right. So now we're getting a whole bunch of those like horse troughs. Right. And they're getting lined into basically in like the locker room area. And after PT, all the cadets are going to have to ice bath.
That's fucking rad.
And that's rad.
No, I love that. Dude, and like it's a win-win, but you'll have people like, you're going to give someone a heart attack. It's no, you're fucking not, dude. But human beings have been falling into cold water since the beginning of time, dude.
But just the fact that my homie, who you know who it is, like went that route and thought that way and implemented it, is fucking savage, bro. Like that's rad.
Tell him next time I'm in Louisiana, we're going to do some cold water therapy together, dude.
Yeah.
Because I dig it, man.
Yeah.
Like you did it in my tub, yesterday?
Yeah.
Right? And I actually have some people that are like, where's your freezer? You used to have a freezer. Why do you have an ice barrel now? And it's like, because I got an ice barrel sent to me. I don't have a reason, but I like them both. I mean, there's pros and cons to each of them. Ice barrel doesn't cool the water itself, so you have to add your own ice. And that is a problem, but I also live in Seattle. So the temperature of the water for most of the year, it's, 50 degrees or below. So it's still pretty good. Although my freezer, the water was like 30 degrees because I put salt water in it. So it's substantially colder, but I'm starting to wonder if
there's diminishing returns.
Yeah, because I started to use it as a mental toughness drill, but like, how we are. More is better.
Yeah.
If 40 feels fucking cold, 30 is going to feel colder.
Yeah.
Let's go. And it got to the point where it actually fucked me up, dude. Yeah. And I was getting numbness in my fingers and my thumbs that wouldn't go away for weeks at a time. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you're showing yourself how tough you are. Congratulations. At the cost of nerve pain.
Right.
So what are you doing? Yeah. So I think that's another good reason I kind of like the ice bath or the ice barrel.
Yeah.
Is that it isn't quite as intense, but that's okay.
Right. And for those of you out there, and one of my friends commented, he's like, I don't see any ice in there, Keith. He's a fucking Aussie too. But for those of you that are questioning it, we put four large 10-pound bags of ice in there. And the water was already fucking freezing because it's wintertime in Seattle.
It's wintertime. Well, I'll fucking just pull it up right now while we're on the air. The high for today is 41 and the low is 29.
Yeah.
So that means the water in there is somewhere between those two temperatures.
The water was already fucking cold. And we put 4 bags of ice and let the ice sit in there for like an hour. We put it in, turned the sauna on. We did 30 minutes in the sauna at over 200, 205 degrees.
Yeah. And you don't do the heat really ever, right? Is that not part of your routine?
No, I don't. I mean, I've done sauna work before with some of my guys that fought MMA.
For weight cutting.
And kind of just because it's demoralizing and it can be dangerous if someone's like really trying to cut weight.
Yeah.
So I've done sauna work before with my guys, like to be there as like like a moral boost.
But bro, you said to me in the sauna, and it's like, there was no weakness in your voice or like, but you said something like,
this sucks, bro.
This sucks, bro. And I was like, if Lapin's, he has good demeanor, he has good energy, but if he's saying it sucks, it sucks.
And like, I wasn't not going to do the time, like at no point not in any point in my head was like, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even feeling bad. Honestly, like the 30 that you're like, oh, that's 30 minutes. But I'm like, cool. Like I felt good, but yeah, it sucks. It's an ass kicker, dude. It's not fun. But you like, I always tell my kids, hey, you don't have to like it. You just got to do it.
Yeah. All right. Last story. And then we're going to wrap this up, or we can talk about BioPro too.
Yeah, we should probably talk a little.
Let's talk about BioPro real quick, because if you're watching on YouTube, you see this BioPro here on the desk. And obviously, I have some Cured nutrition stuff. I like to have my sponsorships so people can get eyes on them, because I believe in the products that I promote on this show.
Absolutely.
I don't fucking do partnerships with companies that are selling snake oil or products that aren't fucking legit, period. And so when we got connected with BioPro, I told the guy, because he wanted to do, this many advertisements or whatever. I said, bro, before we start to even negotiate that, I need to try it for a month. And he's like, Roger that. Sent me a month's supply, and I liked it immediately. Yeah. And then I don't remember, you didn't get your month's supply until after I did mine, right?
Correct. You were in the midst of doing yours. That's when I learned about it.
And I was like, dude, I like this stuff.
And then I placed an order, and I did 2 weeks. Me and Mama did 2 weeks each, because the benefits for women are dramatic as well. And for me, like she's competing heavily this year, like we're both in our 40s, like we're still athletes. Like I want her to have as much of an edge as I do. So why am I going to start taking all this shit, so we split 2 weeks, and by day like 5, I was like, man, I feel a difference. Like I'm more energetic. I'm waking up, not groggy. Like I'm not hitting that wall where I want to take a nap at like 2, 3. And for those of you that like don't know me, like I fucking go.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm teaching my first jiu-jitsu class by like 5:30, basically. I teach morning class. I train afterwards. I have breakfast. I go and train lunch class. Like I go do some SWAT stuff. I go fly an airplane for 2 hours. I come back to the gym. I do my evening, like there's no wasted time. I try not to have any like wasted time. And I was like, man, I feel good. But I didn't want to say anything to her, because I didn't want to like taint her experience.
Yeah. Plus you want to get her authentic feedback.
Exactly.
On it.
And it was like the next day or 2 days later, it was like day 6 or 7. And we're like standing in the kitchen in the afternoon, and she's like, do you feel like you got a lot more energy? I was like, fuck yeah, I do, So we did that. We did 2 weeks, and then we came off of it for 2 weeks. And like within a week, we're like, oh,
back to normal, back to baseline.
So that's when, obviously like I talked to Dustin with BioPro, and like now we've been on it probably about a month again. And this shit works. It just works, like plain and simple. I'm not a scientist. I can't explain why it works.
Yeah.
He's giving me the rundown. You want to learn about it, you can go to the website, but this shit just works.
Well, and so I got some people, they were like, hey, I was listening to you talk about it, and I went to their website, and I'm just trying to get an ingredient list. I'm having a hard time seeing what is in it, And for people that are health conscious, they're probably going to want to know what's in it, right? That's a reasonable request. So I said, hey, I'm going to send me the detailed ingredient list of this. And he texted it right to me. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, pass this out. Like if they're having a harder time finding it on the podcast, you can just send this to people. And so, but it's a bunch of different growth factors, IGF-1, IGF-2, and then it's amino acids and different phospholipids. And it's like, I mean, you can't see it on the YouTube version of this, but there's 55 different ingredients in it, right? So I'm not going to read them right now, but if you're interested in trying it and that's something that you are having a hard time finding, it's on their website, but navigating websites is it is what it is. It can be a shit show sometimes. Hit me up and I'm happy to send it to you over Instagram, and you can get a feel for what is in it and if you think it's something that you want to try or not.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for that additional edge, the other thing for me with the BioPro beyond physically was the mental aspect for me, right? So I have some minor TBI from blast overpressure, years of explosive breaching and, flashbang grenades and shooting short-barreled rifles inside small rooms, etc. Some bigger stuff overseas. Mm-hmm. And I would occasionally get like some brain fog where we'd be talking and a slight pause in our conversation.
What were we talking about?
Dude, I'm sorry. What were we talking about, bro? Like, I forget everything.
I don't allow that on the show, though.
So. I know, right? And I would have ocular seizures. Since I've been taking BioPro, none of it.
What is, it's just a seizure in your eyes? Is that what that is?
Again, yeah, I mean, kind of the knuckle dragger relation, like basically I would lose all peripheral vision. And my eyes would like almost immediately look like I was looking underwater with spotlights everywhere.
Okay.
So I could see you, but you'd be like just blurry.
Got it.
And I'd have it'd be like looking down a stir straw.
How often would those happen?
Man, they were happening for a long time, like pretty regularly. Like I was still in it. So I was still like around charges and stuff daily and explosives daily. And once a week, I'd get them. And sometimes they'd last 10 minutes. Sometimes they'd last an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, that's fucked.
And they were getting really bad to the point where like, I wouldn't be able to drive home from work. I'd have to go sit in the team room for an hour and no light and like close my eyes and try to like chill. Then I started down a route with some vitamins and stuff that were recommended to me, and it was lessening it. And then when I got on the BioPro, gone.
That's cool, man.
It's rad.
You should talk to them about it. They might not even know that that's a byproduct of it.
I've talked to them about it. And they have been doing some studies with that stuff. Because it's like you said, it's a growth factor matrix.
Yeah.
So it actually helps like regenerate and regrow. And that's what traumatic brain injury is basically. You have tissues in your brain that have like more or less like died, right? Mm-hmm. From blast overpressure or concussion, CTE with football players and stuff like that. And I've had a handful of concussions as well, but it helps regenerate stuff like that, so I've noticed a difference physically, mentally.
It's awesome. And we are going to, at some point, he wants to do an episode with both of us to like really dive in and talk about the product in detail. And then us two knuckle draggers can ask all the questions that most of our listeners would probably want to ask, keep it out of the fucking scientific realms and just be like, bro, I'm just trying to get jacked. Is this going to work? All right, last story, and then we're going to wrap this up. But I think it's an important one to share because something you always say, Guns Gis, you don't get to pick the time and place.
Yeah.
And shit can happen, the most random circumstances. And if you guys that listen know Toby Folk, my Ranger buddy. He's been on a bunch of episodes, and he was just on, I think, last week's episode. But yesterday, his wife is coaching some clients. She runs a little fitness thing out of their house. And some deranged psychopath that just beat one woman nearly to death a couple doors down runs down the street, charges her in her own garage where they've turned into their little fitness facility. And because she's an avid hiker, she had like her hiking gear nearby and her bear mace. And she said she just fucking like dove for that and grabbed it and blasted that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it had the desired effect. And I guess he fucking went running across the street and jumped in a pond. And then by that time, there was enough people. Hey, we're doing real life. People can hear my doorbell going off. I actually think that's him. You know what I mean?
Is that Toby?
That's Toby. But yeah, he had to, or the guy went and ran.
Can we go get that?
Yeah, let's pause this for 1 second. All right. And we're back after that 1 minute intermission. And that's actually funny because that was Fulk.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He just stopped by. I let him go shooting out at our new property today. So he went out there with her.
Brought the key back. And
was just dropping the key off. But yeah, they're working on their preparedness because of this story. Right.
Yeah.
And, the dude fucking charged the girls and she was able to grab that can of mace, blast him, and fucking the dude ran across the street, jumped in a pond, trying to wash it out of his face. But that bought enough time for other neighbors to identify, like, I'm sure they were screaming and yelling, and several guys went out there, and I guess they had
the cops.
They grabbed a baseball bat and a golf club. And now you had some type of, the ability to contain this guy. And man, it really like ruffled her. She's
as it should.
She's like, what if this, what if that? Like, that was so scary. And all those are real and legitimate emotions. But like Toby said, it's like where the rubber meets the road, and you were confronted by, and I guess the guy was giant too.
Yeah.
You had the right mentality to
not be a victim.
I'm going to, like he said to us, I'm going to seize the initiative from this guy and I'm going to take it back and I'm going to take control of the situation. And she's a fucking small young lady that was able to do that. And I think it's important to fucking shine a spotlight on stories like this because you don't get to pick when and where. And dude, the other woman, I guess, is in critical condition at a hospital.
Yeah.
So he was fucking on a warpath.
Yeah.
Fully
capable of beating someone to death.
Yeah. And if you aren't willing to say, fucking, let's go right now and bring the fight to someone, fuck, dude. You're in your garage working out with some friends, and then the next minute you're getting beaten to death by some psychopath. And that's right up the street. Yeah. We live in a pretty normal area, and so now it's just a good fucking lesson. You don't know when, you don't know where. And that's why our whole thing is fucking building capability. And it applies to you young ladies out there too. So
even more so.
Yeah, for sure.
Even more so women tend to be I want to say an easier target or, appear to be an easier target for a lot of predators. So, the guy's not going to come up to you or me.
No.
They're afraid we might punch him in the face.
I wish he would though.
Yeah.
All right, man. I think that's good. Let's wrap this up. You got anything else you want to put out there before we fucking go enjoy Washington for one more day?
No, man. Good to go.
All right. Until next time.